Just because you're happy and you're smiling and you're in the service of others does not mean that you are having an easy life. It means you are choosing happiness despite the events that may be happening in your life right now. Happiness is built through small choices, daily awareness, and compassionate action, especially to yourself. Welcome to the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast, where you master your mind and coach your own comeback. You are the hero, you are the guide, and you will learn to architect your life from the inside. I'm your host, Britannia Stowe, joined by my sister and co-host, Annika Wilder. Enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. You guys, I am riding solo. My sister and co-host Annika is out for another episode, but that's okay. I'm not going to allow this to destroy my happiness because I believe that happiness is a choice. Some days happiness feels effortless, and other days happiness feels impossible. The Declaration of Independence says that we have unalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But I am here to tell you that I think our founding fathers got it wrong. It's not about the pursuit of happiness, it's about choosing happiness. But if happiness was so easy, why are we constantly searching for it? It's because we're looking at external forces. We're looking outside of ourselves to make us happy. We're focused on if I have this, then I can be happy. Or if I have the body that I want, or the job, or if I have love in my life. And we put all of our happiness in external forces and in outcomes that we can't control. Happiness isn't something that we find, it's something that we practice. Today's episode, we're going to dig into that a little bit more, following the teachings of the Dalai Lama and the book, The Art of Happiness. In this book, the Dalai Lama teaches that happiness is a skill, not a circumstance, a practice, a process, rather than a destination or something that you hold in your hand. According to the Dalai Lama, happiness comes from inner balance, mental discipline, and compassion, rather than those external forces like success, wealth, and pleasure. So, what are we getting wrong about happiness? Well, there's some myths. I mentioned a few earlier. We have this idea that I'll be happy when, and I have been a victim of this as well. I remember a time in my life where I was quite miserable in my 20s, and I thought, well, if I had a decent boyfriend and if I was in better shape and if, the world wasn't so mean to me, then I would be happy. I have nothing to be happy about. And so I would choose misery by avoiding the responsibility of choosing happiness. I chose misery instead. And I think a lot of people out there are doing this. And we confuse happiness with pleasure or comfort. And that is not the same thing. We talk about external forces, which it could be a car or it could be money in your bank. But these things are temporary. We live in this consumer society, and they're teaching you with every advertisement and every movie and every social media post that you're not enough and that you shouldn't be happy until you get that mascara or you buy those shoes or you take that vacation. And we start to believe that because we're surrounded by it. And this is why it's so important to be mindful of of your surroundings and what you're choosing to ingest, whether it be food or media. And this causes an outcome of disappointment because, again, we're placing our emotional well being in things you cannot control. You can take the vacation, but what happens when your flight gets delayed, or you sit next to someone who's awful, or you get to your destination and your hotel's been booked by someone else and they don't have any rooms left? Are you going to be miserable? Or are you going to choose happiness? Remember, outcomes are not up to you, but your effort and your perception and your intention is. Remember, happiness is not a destination, it's a daily decision-making process. Happiness comes from the amount of effort you put in showing up authentically with your intention day in and day out. So let's break down the teachings of the art of happiness. In the art of happiness, the Dalai Lama says that the goal of life is happiness, not suffering. Though we all do experience suffering, and being a part of this human existence is a lot of pain because through our pain, we can learn and we develop these lessons and we grow. And I believe that we are in this, existence, this human existence, because we're spiritual beings having a human existence, is to learn. It's like going away to college. That's how I feel we should look at our life. And every action that we take, consciously or unconsciously, is aimed at reducing suffering and increasing happiness. So, if happiness is the goal, how important do you think it is to focus on how we think and not just what we do? I would say it's crucial. Happiness comes from that inner discipline. Again, not those external circumstances. It comes from the mind. External conditions can change constantly and are truly out of your control. Lasting happiness comes from perspective, attitude, and emotional regulation. Two people can experience the very same event and yet have two completely different experiences. Why is that? Because of the things that they have control of, their attitude, their perception, and their emotional regulation. You can't control everything that happens, but you can shape how it lands inside of you. How long you choose to stew on an outcome you didn't want is up to you. What meaning you assign to the unwanted outcome is also up to you. And how you choose to move forward. Are you going to stay stuck, or are you going to take this as an opportunity or a lesson? Pleasure is not happiness. I know. That's confusing, right? Because pleasure is great, and it is great, and it's a part of this human existence, but it is not happiness. It is temporary, and it is based on stimulation. It is not a constant. Happiness runs deeper and is far more stable. Chasing pleasure can lead to addiction, anxiety, and restlessness. And constantly seeking pleasure is a distraction from finding true happiness. Like drinking when you had a long day, or buying something new instead of sorting your closet and seeing what you have, or distracting yourself from that inner work. Right? If you are constantly seeking pleasure, you are avoiding, intentionally or unintentionally, happiness. So let me ask you, is there somewhere in your life where you are confusing pleasure or distractions with joy? Pain and suffering is a part of life, and I want you to experience the pleasures of life. But that doesn't mean we should be avoiding pain. Remember, it's in our failures that we gain the most knowledge, that we have the most growth. While pain and suffering is a part of life, misery is optional. We we suffer a little bit. I think it's normal, but we can prolong our suffering when we choose to resist reality or when we replay our pain over and over again. I know I've said this before, but your mind does not know the difference between the pain that you are experiencing now and the pain that you are remembering, that you are choosing to relive. I actually had a nightmare last night, a very intense nightmare. I was in this like Airbnb with all my friends, and there was all these awful things happening, and my husband cheated on me, and it started to flood, and I was running, and then someone tried to like set me up and like turn me into the cops for something I didn't do, and anxious, anxiety dream, very, very intense. And I woke up thinking about it, not just thinking about it, but playing it over and over in my head. I went to take out my dogs and I replayed it. I ate my breakfast and I replayed it. And I found myself just stewing in this horrible, awful dream. And I realized I was feeling pretty awful about myself. And I thought today was going to be a really bad day because of it. And then I realized I don't have to do this. I don't have to be replaying that. I don't need to remember this dream. I'm clearly anxious about some things, but I do not need to relive this pain. And so I mentioned the dream to my husband, and he laughed and he was like, "Oh, that one's a new one." And it made me feel better. I broke the cycle, right? I didn't have to suffer by reliving that pain over and over again. Now, compassion is central to happiness. Towards others, it reduces isolation. And towards ourselves, it reduces shame. And remember, we've talked about this. Shame is a very low vibration. When you choose to live and sit in shame, you block your blessings. You operate on such a low level, and it disconnects you from your authenticity. Kindness creates connection, and connection is truly essential to happiness. Now, anxiety, which I clearly was feeling from my dream, stems from selfishness and assuming that the world revolves around you. So, something to that. Maybe I need to figure out where I am being a little self centered and selfish. Well, calm stems from serving others. You put your worries aside when someone comes to you and needs help. I was on a phone call with a girlfriend and I had every intention of venting all my problems and all the things going wrong in my life. And she beat me to the punch and was expressing some things going on in her life that she needs support in. And immediately I changed my perception to, me, to how can I help you? How can I support you? What do you need from me? And almost instantaneously, my anxiety and my worry dissipated as I chose to show up. So, service and compassion to yourself and to others will increase this calm and will increase happiness. Now, mental discipline and changing this mindset is a practice. Training your mind is just like training a muscle. It took me years to build up my Michelle Obama arms and 9 months to lose them, but it took years. It took me a very long time. So, disciplining my mind is not going to be any different. I know that it can be tedious. I know that it can take, some patience. But if you are disciplined and you start to form these practices, then you can start to make more conscious decisions to choose happiness. This practice includes being aware of your thoughts. You can't change anything that you're unaware of. Reframing negative thinking. So instead of thinking doom and gloom when something goes wrong, think what is the sign here? What is the universe pushing me towards? What is this a symptom of? Go into detective mode. And then cultivating patience. Stop waiting to feel better. Start practicing feeling better. I'm going to say that again. Stop waiting to feel better, to do what you want to do, to experience happiness, and instead find true happiness by practicing to feel better. Anger and fear are a part of life, but anger and fear are one of the biggest obstacles to finding happiness. I believe that anger is a tool. And I discovered this when I did my immersive session and did this energy work. And I realized that I didn't allow myself to express anger because I saw it as a bad thing. But it's a tool like a screwdriver or a scroll saw. It has a very specific purpose for a very specific time. But if all you do is use that tool, right? If the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I think that's the phrase. So if you're just using anger all the time, then you're not going to build anything. You won't be able to build happiness in your life. And fear narrows your perception and creates more suffering. Remember, emotion is not the enemy, unconscious reaction is. Your happiness is your responsibility. It's incredibly personal. No one can give it to you. And taking responsibility for other things in your life, your finances, your health, your happiness, is not a burden. It actually empowers you. I remember when I realized this, that I kept looking outside of myself to find happiness, and I didn't understand why I wasn't finding it. And when I turned everything inward and realized that I needed to make some internal changes, yeah, it was a little scary, but I was excited because what can I control? Nothing but myself, right? So take responsibility. It is so empowering. Now, inner peace really is the foundation of happiness, and true happiness feels calm and not frantic. I remember before I met my husband, I was dating people who created a lot of chaos in my life. And I think I was addicted to the drama. I think I confused it for passion. And when my husband and I first met, and it wasn't this chaotic, time, I tried to self-sabotage and was like, oh, well, this can't be love. Because all the love I've seen from my parents arguing to every relationship I had, in high school through adulthood was very toxic. And I realized that I was sabotaging a true love because he came with calm, he came with security, he with peace. And yes, he absolutely came with passion, but it wasn't a chaotic passion. It was a deep, deep passion. And so I was able to start to realize that my happiness needed to shift a little bit inward so that I could also find happiness in those relationships. But if I was looking for what I thought was the right or happy relationship, I would be finding another chaotic partner. So, you have to seek calm and allow yourself to sit in those calm moments. I know that life gets hard and scary and we're constantly, scrolling and looking for distractions because life can be hard and feeling our feelings is not easy. But even in the calm, you can feel some of those intense feelings. So you can feel a little bit of doubt and still feel peace. Remember, peace and calm is the foundation of happiness. Yes, you can experience joy and sadness and heartbreak and challenge, but a peaceful mind can do this without also experiencing anxiety and overwhelm. It's not bypassing a hard time or distracting yourself from it. It's about how we meet the hard time, how we show up for the event. Happiness truly is a daily choice. What happiness is a choice actually means, it doesn't mean ignoring grief, stress, or hardship, right? It's a part of life, pain's a part of life. But it does mean how you choose to respond. I've mentioned this in an earlier episode. E plus R equals O. So the event plus the response equals the outcome. The only effect you really have on the outcome is how you choose to respond. I'm currently in a new season of my life. Motherhood is hard. It's wonderful, it's beautiful, but it's hard. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you're just crushing motherhood. Look at you, all smiles and happy. Because I choose happiness. I'm sleep deprived. My finances are stretched. When my baby is crying at me and I don't know why, it's really hard. But I am not going to allow any of these things to derail my happiness. And I know that there's probably a lot of mothers out there who feel the same way, who are like, wow, no one knows how hard this is. And that's why we have to talk about these things. Just because you're happy and you're smiling and you're in the service of others does not mean that you are having an easy life. It means you are choosing happiness despite the events that may be happening in your life right now. Happiness is built through small choices, daily awareness, and compassionate action, especially to yourself. In today's Coach Yourself segment, I have a few things that I think will help you. You just have to choose one. Please do not feel like you have to do all these and choose the one that resonates the most with you. So maybe start a compassion practice towards yourself first, then others. Where is one area where you are being a little hard on yourself? You know the area. I'm slowing this down on purpose. Where is that one area? Is it getting your body in shape? Is it getting your finances organized? Is it being a better person in your relationships? Where's that one area that you can just show more compassion? And that's it. That's all you have to do. I want you to practice compassion to yourself every day in that one area. That's it. Or gratitude with depth. So, this is not toxic positivity. And I talk about gratitude all the time because it really makes a difference. But allowing yourself to be grateful, starting with something surface level and then going deep. So when I opened up my cupboard, and this is also a really good perception shift, under my sink, I saw how chaotic it was. There was toilet paper and cleaning supplies. And instead of focusing on, oh my gosh, look at all this chaos and there's no room down here, I instead thought, wow, we have a lot of toilet paper. I am really grateful that I don't need to go and buy any toilet paper right now. Both bathrooms are stocked and we use toilet paper every day. And so I'm just really grateful that I have it. And then I started to look inside the cupboard and I saw the cleaning supplies. And I'm really grateful that we have those so we can keep our house clean. But I'm even more grateful for my husband who does most of the cleaning. Shout out to Jason. He's such a good man. He keeps our house clean. And I'm so grateful for my husband and how he chooses to show up as a father and as a husband and as my partner in this life. So you see, you can have a gratitude practice that starts surface and then allows you to go deep. And again, that perception shift. How can you look at something that might trigger a chaotic response and allow yourself to take that negative and see it as a positive? Mental hygiene is one of the toughest things, right? Being able to shift your mindset. And in an earlier episode, I shared my method, which I call stop, drop, and roll. So when you have a negative thought that is continuing and replaying in your mind over and over again, stop. Stop right there. Drop the negative thought. Stop thinking about it, drop it from your mind, and roll out a new thought. Allow yourself to shift. Allow yourself to take action towards your happiness. So when it comes to shifting your mindset, stop, drop, and roll. Another great way that you can coach yourself through choosing happiness is finding those tiny joys, which could be as simple as taking a walk or getting doggy cuddles or reading a book, listening to music, dancing for 5 or 10 minutes. I know that we all have a lot of responsibilities. Times are tough these days, and I know that. But you don't have to be miserable. I do believe that just as much as happiness is a choice, so is misery. So allow yourself to choose through tiny tasks, through a perception shift, through a compassion practice, or through a deeper gratitude practice. Where in your life, let me ask you, where in your life this week can you choose differently? Can you do something different? Can you break the pattern to allow yourself to get a little bit closer to choosing happiness? Listen, choosing happiness is easier said than done, which everything that is worth anything always is. So be gentle with yourself. And remember, you don't have to feel happy to choose a life of happiness. This has been another episode of the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, subscribe and share the love. And remember the teachings of Lao Tzu. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. Until next time, trust yourself. Take the wisdom, take the breath, and take the next step.